All right. Hey guys, I'm standing for this one 'cause I'm super excited. I couldn't sit. Yeah. So this is our first episode. Time is very limited here. We've got a busy day because of family. It's a holiday season coming up here. So happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, whatever you celebrate. Enjoy. Now, a few housekeeping notes because, like I said, this campaign will be a playtest for my Death of Chronicles. That's why the name of this is Death of Chronicles. So, first, before we begin the actual episode, my game is growing. So I've decided to take it on as an HTML file, a web page. So this is the full kind of about section. The game has grown a bit. Now for ability scores, you have 50 points to distribute amongst the 5 abilities. And I will show you what I did for Reece following this slight change. I've added a special ability, so you can choose one ability of Havoc to make your specialty, which gives you a permanent advantage during actions. And you can add more every 4 levels, up to 20. Your health is the same, still based on 3d6 choosing the tallest roll. Move rate is still half of agility, rounded up. I've added a base damage similar to GURPS, where you have a base damage die comparative to your Vigor. So mine is Reece is at 6, so that gives him a 1d4. There is the armor's the same, the rucksack is the same. Character concept, I just added birthplace in there and focus. So now I've added critical successes and failures. So a perfect for critical and a fumble for failure. When you roll a 20, um, then it is an 18. That's a 3d6 system. I did add a max for your abilities. You can't not go higher than 16 because what's the point? 18 is the most you can roll in 3d6. 16 is gives you some very minor room for failure. Now, with focus, when you roll a critical, a perfect, right on the number of your Havoc ability that you're using, you gain a step in the direction of sharp. So let me show you the character sheet. At the bottom here, I changed reputation to focus. Sharp, it's the same sliding scale as before, but I changed the names from lost on the far left up to sharp. So when you hit a critical perfect, then you go up 1 step. 4 steps, it's one, and another four, it's two. That's a permanent, not a permanent, that's a sliding modifier for all of your rolls. If you fumble, you go down. I think this gives the game a huge, interesting twist because it's not just limited to the interactions with an NPC. You're actually having it affect your entire self. So if you mess up or if you have a perfect moment, that will kind of affect your confidence. So that's why I'm calling it focus. I'm still trying to figure out how to work in reputation. The reputation is not thrown out the window, it's just put on the side. It's a very intriguing system, but reputation more so should affect charisma, which is underneath heart in my game. So it would be not just to the general crowd, not just to the general NPCs around you, but actually specific groups. Simple as that. That's basically what my reputation system would be. If you help out one faction in the fictional fantasy world, that would increase your reputation with that faction. But that faction might be enemies with another. Oh, kind of like the original GTA games, GTA 1, 2, there was the factions. There was the gangs. So you help one out, you would basically be alienating another group. That's what I'm trying to go with in this. So I want to bring it that's a little more advanced and that's a little more heavier on the GM, especially for solo play. That's me. That will be down the road. And if we encounter a faction, I'm going to take note of it. Especially if we start developing factions, 5, 10 episodes from now, and we start encountering different groups that have beef with each other, that would be interesting because our character would have to pick a side. Is he going to be neutral? Does he want to help a certain group, or does he see one other group as the adversary? So keep that in mind. Reputation is not off the table. It's just in my back pocket because I want to use it for a bigger purpose. I don't think reputation can be vaguely summed up on one sliding line. So I feel like the slider is more so good for our character with all the abilities. So that is the biggest change here besides the point distribution system for our rules. But let's go back to the character sheet. As I said, I've also added the base damage box. There is the switcheroo here with health and damage taken and the birthplace. So my character has already been updated with the new character sheet. Because 50 points was less than my prior total amount of abilities because we rolled dice, heart is now 10, but I kept the most and the least the same. So agility is 15, vigor is at 6. Optics and craft had to suffer a bit, so craft optics is at 10, craft is at 9. They were originally 13. But again, I had to decrease them because of 50-point limitation. Now, if we go back to the rules here, um, nothing, I added the fumble and perfect mentions here. Along with the special ability, I've also added advantage and disadvantage. We use 46, and you basically choose the three best or least results. Or I should say lowest is best, highest is the worst, respectively. Combat actions. I think everything else is mostly, I've added, magic and energy as an option because I don't know if the world you'd be using for this game. I want to say that I adjusted this game to be a genre neutral game. Healing is in there, death incarnation is in there. There's the big more mechanic for focus, because originally focus up here was how it kind of starts, how it works, and this is actually how it works for the guide. So that's the focus section here. Leveling up grew a bit because of slight tweaks. You basically plus one level just as verification. You roll 1d6 to increase your health. You increase your focus by plus one, because so if you advance a level, you gain more confidence. It's more internally, it's more meta than anything, but it's basically a little bonus because your character can still be -1 or 2, but you slay the dragon and your character advances because mine's based on a milestone system. You still get a slight kick in the behind to do better. So the plus one focus helps you out. Every 4 levels, you can get a special ability, and this game is I'm maxing it at 20, and I have 5 abilities, so 4 times 5 is 20, and it gives you a chance to special every one. And then you can increase one ability by plus one, and then I want to verify max is 16. So I believe I have it up here. Yep, minimum of 3, max of 16 per, because it's a 3d6 game. How would you have a 2 for an ability? So that's the whole shebang for the updates. And I'm going to try to do that after every huge edit. If I do a very small edit, like I change some terms or the lingo, I'm not going to do a full-on spiel like I just did to waste your guys' time. But for me, part of the excitement is the excitement itself. So let's begin. I'm going to keep the rules open in case I need to reference it because I am not going to print a copy for every episode and then I make a change. I'm like, oh, well, there goes that. All right. So our character, Reece, he is currently at work. At the moment, he is serving a couple of patrons. We're in the tavern, which was called the Gold Locket. The tavern is most likely, let's say it's mid-morning, so it's somewhat busy, not too occupied, and not too busy. But as he is serving, he sees a few of the usual familiar locals, familiar faces. Uh, there is, okay, so as Reese is serving the patrons, he notices that, well, let's see if, I want to say that there is a burning smell. Now, his wife, or I should say his love interest, his girlfriend, is not actually in the tavern at the moment. She is at home doing whatever she's doing. So our Reese's boss is the bartender. He is the owner of the tavern. Well, let's not focus too much on him just yet because my time is limited today. So I want to get the framework set and I want to throw in the big twist that I mentioned from the last episode. Something will happen here. Something will happen here. Let's roll a. This would probably be simple enough just to say that he smells a burning. He smells something burning. But because he's surrounded by different bodies, different people from like the outside farmers, miners, um, local merchants, they're all like, there's all these different smells and whips. They're inside a tavern. It's cooped up. The air is very stagnant. There's not a lot of wind. The shutters are probably closed. A typical tavern with like a tall a triangular ceiling with some pillars. It's the usual brown maple wood theme, um, kind of like this, that color. And as he's holding a tray, he has some drinks. He's bringing some drinks out to a couple of the people in the corner. We're gonna roll. We're gonna do our first roll today with 3d6. So this will be a roll for optics to see if he can get the whiff of the smoke, and the smoke is actually coming from above the roof. And because we'll find out in a second, but there's a fire on top of the roof. Now the roof, I'm thinking it's wood and probably has some, I don't know. The picture behind me kind of illustrates what the. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. The picture behind me. Let me get out of the way. This is Greymoor. This is where our location is. So in every episode, the picture behind me will be the location as a visual frame of reference. It won't be in the exact buildings where our characters will be, but where our team will be, but it will be a general representation of where the area is. So as you can see, it's a grassland area. Now, let's roll. We have to roll because the air is very stagnant and there's a different smells everywhere because of people's odor in general, the food, the drinks. I'm going to do a penalty on -2. So we have to roll an 8 or less to successfully smell the burning wood. We rolled okay, luckily it wasn't a failure, a fumble, but it was a 665. So that's way over our threshold. That's six. That's 12. Oh, that's 17. So close. Almost fumbled for the first go. We would have given us a step down for our focus in that one. But okay, he can't smell it. So he's doing his thing. He's serving his food and he's serving the patrons. Um, because we didn't fumble, it's not going to be detrimental or a huge problem, or it's not going to be damage taken or anything. But it was a pretty high failure overall. So he's serving, and then he doesn't smell it, but some of the other patrons start to smell fire. They start sniffing around like, and they are talking amongst themselves. Like, "I smell that." They look up and they can see this fire coming through the roof, and everyone starts to panic. So as he panics, um, I will say that he gets bumped by one of the patrons panicking, running out to see what's happening. So he gets bumped over, he falls back, he doesn't take any damage, just he probably catches himself on a table. Maybe the tables are built into the floor, they're not like the wobbly um, high boys. But he catches himself. The bartender is confused what's going on. He's looking around, and then Reese looks up. He sees that the roof is starting to catch fire, and the bartender, um, he screams. He yells at everyone to get out of get out of the tavern, get out. And then he drops his cup. Clean. He's doing the usual stereotype of cleaning the glass. He puts the glass down. He runs up to Reese. It says, Reese, we got to get out of here. The place is catching fire. So we exit. We exit into the main marketplace. The tavern's probably somewhere. Let's see. I want to say the tavern is probably in this big bunch of this area here. This little big bunched up amount of buildings there. So we're somewhere in that busier part of the town. This is more so on the outskirts. So we look up and just picture this visually. If you've ever seen Robin Hood Men in Tights, the literally opening scene of the arrows, the flamed arrows, striking the top of the building, catching fire. That's what I'm thinking. So the top of the tavern, you can see these arrows literally uh, in the roof, and it's burning. So Reese looks up. He sees that. He's looking around. People are panicking because almost every building is on fire. Some buildings are in the process of being burnt down. Some buildings are just starting to get burnt, and the tavern was in the mix of it. So let's now get a name of the owner. Who is the owner of the Gold Tavern? The Gold Locket. Well, let's draw a card. Let's use the apprentice deck. And I want to say, those names not a fan. Jargus. So Jargus, let me write this down here. Gold Locket. Sorry, you guys can't see it. Gold Locket owner, Jargus. He is kind of a bigger dude with a big beard. Um, People often gets confused for being a dwarf, but he's a human. He starts to shout as he looks at his tavern and starts to shout. He says my tavern. Starts to kind of drop his. Says, what who could have done this? And Reese is looking around trying to see if he can spot anything. Remember, he has a backer of a hunter, so now that he's outside, he's kind of in his air. He's kind of out in his um, preferred outside being a family of hunters. So maybe he likes to be outside compared to being cooped up trying to make a living inside with a boring job. But he's now outside in his inner zen, but it's not peaceful. So let's do another optics roll with just a with no modifier. Because I'm going to say he's looking around trying to see if he can spot anything where these arrows are being fired from. And we have to roll a 10 or less. So fortunately, his optics were not as good as the original character sheet. Six, three, one. We literally got 10 on the dot. So it took some time, but he's looking around as people are panicking, running by, just south of maybe where I'm standing in this picture, because maybe we're on the south side of town. Behind my head is the north side. That's the north end of town. He sees more arrows just beginning to fly up, and they're flamed arrows. They're just as if they were launched. They were just shot, and they're just coming out of the horizon towards the town. Reese shouts to as the top of his lungs. He yells incoming, and he points up to the sky, points up in the direction of the arrows. Jargus looks back. His eyes widen. Reese is going to take Jargus and grab him to run because maybe the arrows are kind of in the direction of where we are. So they're coming and they hit. We're gonna have to roll agility, and this is our specialty. So because we saw it coming, I'm gonna give him a plus one, 16. So we gotta roll a 16 or less on agility to successfully dodge the arrows that are burning arrows and save our boss. I rolled a 6, 5, 3, so that's 11, 14 total, which that's obviously a success. We grab Jargus. We dive, kind of like a goalie, out of the way. The arrows hit the ground. Some more arrows hit the exterior of the tavern, catching fire. Unfortunately, some people get hit. They get hit in the stomach. They get hit in the head. They fall back. Innocent people, bystanders, people are panicking, running around, scattering. It's a complete flipping mayhem. And Reese checks on Jargus. He says, "Are you okay, sir?" And Jargus looks up. He says, "Yes, thank you." And then he looks back at his tavern. He's like, my home. And that's because Jarvis literally lives in the tavern, probably lives in the back somewhere. So he's like, my home, I've done this. And then Reese stands up. He's very determined. His instincts has been turning, his instincts has been activated. He's looking around. Now, I'm going to increase the focus for him to plus one because he just saved someone's life. So that's not plus one, but a step up. Plus one is 4 steps. So right now, we are at, I need to find a paper clip, but I forgot to do that. So I'm gonna have to jot it in. So we're currently at plus one above focus. That gives us a step in the right direction. So he's looking around and then what he sees, there's fire, there's smoke, but it is mid-morning. Let me write that down. So mid-morning, not the weather is not bad, not windy. So the fires are um, burning up. They're not being blown in some direction. As he looks in the distance, okay, sorry. Have to take care of some stuff. As he looks in the distance, he sees, let me roll some dice for this. I'm going to roll a d10. No, actually, I'm going to roll 2d6. He sees 8 individuals, all wearing some very heavy cloaks, hoods up, the usual, the typical stereotype. They all have their hoods up, and they're all on horseback, and they're in a fast pace. They're coming towards us. So in the distance, in the scope of the main marketplace, and visualizing it between the buildings, the main road, 8 individuals on horseback are coming towards our directions. They're coming north at us, and some have torches, some have bows kind of sticking out of their back like arrows, and the main individual in the front, as he approaches us, is in a full knight's armor, and that's Reece stands up, and he stands there by himself as he has a dagger behind him. He's going to carefully have his hand on the dagger behind his back. And that's where we're going to close the episode. So there it is. That's our first episode. We now have 8 individuals coming at us. Everything's burning around their area. And Reece is currently in defense mode with these enemies, these adversaries approaching. Jargus is hopeless. He's on the ground. And don't forget, we don't know. Let's say that Reece remembers. He's thinking, Abigail, where is she? I almost forgot about that. I almost forgot about Abigail. So he's thinking, Abigail. He's thinking to himself as these form. So again, Reece is brave, but he's also caring. So he's worried about um, Abigail. Remember, Reece is this picture right here. That's Reece. So just picture him with he's dressed in his uniform from work, but he keeps his dagger in his back pocket, his back belt. So this is episode 1 of the Definitely Chronicles. A lot of deaths so far. We've probably witnessed maybe a dozen deaths. So the name kind of sinks in line with it, unfortunately. And that's where we left off. We didn't take any damage. We did a couple rolls, so that's good. So at least we get this game going, and I'll get my feel of it, see if I can make improvements in the next episode. But for now, I like how things are with the mechanics. We didn't do everything, but we did a focus adjustment. We definitely have some role play. And in this series, I will not be doing my macro playing where I kind of focus on the generics of things. I'm going to try to go in depth in this one, like full role play if I can. Not voices, probably sporadically. I don't know about that, but like detail, not too much, but I'm going to just give you, I want to give enough detail for you guys to visualize what's happening because I'm doing this in person, not on the table. What I'll leave it at that. So, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.